Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Family, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about Rian Johnson's new film, Knives Out.
Yeah, his newest whodunit, which there's not a lot of those left in 2019, but I like, whodunits and mysteries. Mm-hmm. Personally, I wasn't too huge of a fan of this film. I'll go into... by the way, we should say that we'll do a non-spoiler part first, and then we will move on to the spoilers because I think there's definitely some differences in what you can talk about. I think some of the acting in this movie is solid. I actually like the cast, and I thought it was a solidly directed movie, but I really don't like this movie script, and I will get into more why later, but it just sort of fails overall for me.
Interesting.
Right. So I actually feel like whodunits are kind of coming back because I feel like there's more of them trying to come out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There was that one. What was it? The last one that came out. We reviewed it this year.
Ready or Not's not a whodunit.
Ready or Not. No, but it kind of has that type of whodunit dinner vibe. It's definitely very different. And then there was the other one with no, you know what? Actually, there are no whodunits. Yeah, but they're dinner parties. I call those like the whodunits.
Like family dinner.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's kind of like that vibe. Anyways. Excuse me. But I enjoyed this movie because the whole time I'm in the beginning I'm like, oh, it's obviously this person did it. And then it will kind of show me why it's not. You know, and then it's just kind of, it wasn't, I think near the end, once you kind of figure out who did it and what actually happened, it kind of drags out a little bit. But I think, I actually really like the editing, and it was probably like cheesy editing and very or not, I'm talking about the comedic part of it, where they were doing the interview and it would shift back and forth. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think it's a very simple way to get laughs, to have different suspects' stories conflict with each other. But I thought it was funny the way they did it, especially with the varying different characters.
Yeah, I was on the fence with this movie. Enjoyed it at times and didn't enjoy it at others. It was very cartoony for me, but that's actually something I like because I love Clue. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's a whodunit, with over-exaggerated characters, which is kind of what this was. But then there were, as BJ had pointed out, major script problems for me in this movie, and also I was probably, and I'm not like a genius or anything, but I was a step ahead of the story, and I hate that if it's a whodunit or whatever. I want either a twist or where I'm lost, and then it reveals itself.
But there's no way you knew what actually happened at the end, and we're not going to talk about what actually happened at the end until after that. But there's no way you saw that coming. You don't have the background to know that.
Let's say there's three things that had to happen at the end. I knew two of them.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, whodunits, they've been around since I guess just movies, but I think they popularized a lot in the 40s. You got neo-noir and detective stories and whatnot. And those are definitely a specific type, and they're definitely dictated by their time and in that context. But they've developed over time. We've gotten a lot of detective stories, but I think when you look at how cinema develops in terms of genre and movement, you can look at the better films each decade and how they advance it, but stay true to what it should be. I think a great example is the movie Prisoners, which is not cartoony or it's not as fun as a whodunit.
No, it's very dark.
Who is it? Yeah, it's extremely dark. But it's all. I remember watching the movie and being like, I wonder what's going on and who's the culprit of this. And by the end of the movie, I was thoroughly impressed and surprised. This movie has none of that for me. And I think what you said about the thing predicted. Yes, I did not predict every beat of the story. I mean, I didn't write the script for 2 years or however long Rian Johnson did. At the end of the day, you're only watching a movie as fast as your brain can process it. However, I was not impressed by the ending or surprised. I was just like, yeah, okay, kind of thought of that. Not that specifically, but nothing about it was very smart, And I think that the comedy in this movie really kills the movie for me. I think that there's so many attempts to be contemporary in this movie. There's a political discussion in this movie. It's 2 minutes long, and it is so ham-fistingly random in this movie, and it's so unfunny. And it's so jarringly just this.
But that's them trying to be relevant. You're talking about all the whodunits trying to stay relevant.
Attempting to be relevant, that it will not be relevant.
Well, they basically took a pile of mud and threw it up there and said, that's what we got.
Yes, but they took, there's so many references to contemporary culture and, in American politics and American, culture and just how they try to combine it all to make these funny jokes and then combine it with the characters' personalities and the age differences, and none of it works. There's a joke like a Baby Driver joke. And I just don't know why they put that in there, you know. And I'm not saying I don't like.
No,
the
I
movie,
remember that it didn't land
but
very well.
and when you date a movie like that, it really kills it. For
But
me.
the old lady, nobody knowing how old she was. Come on,
No, I'm not
funny.
gonna say I didn't laugh at a single joke
She's
in this
like,
movie. There's a lot of them, but there were just so many jokes. Even in like The Last Jedi, there was a FaceTime joke in that movie that dates that movie. You know what doesn't need to be dated? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That
There's a
type of humor-
FaceTime joke in that. Really?
Yeah,
Don't
the
they have
type of humor-
hologram?
Yes.
Why a FaceTime joke?
Stop. Okay, but that type of joke and that type of attempt at subversive humor is so present in this movie, and it fails on so many levels that it really killed a lot of the parts of the movie for me. And the actors do their best, and the actors, like I said, do a really good job. But the script for this movie doesn't work.
I'd like to say the acting was, I really enjoyed the characters.
And I think the ensemble was
Yeah.
like, it worked well.
Yeah, so that's kind of what kept me in the movie. As I said, I'm on the fence because I like the characters and I like the actors. It was just I had a problem with the script at times, and I think that's what threw me off. That dinner scene for me was almost like I don't even understand why it was there.
But it wasn't
I
even
know
like
why
a
it was there,
smart-
but it was like so in your face and so out of place, compared to the whole tone and how everything was going.
And if it was going to be in there, it could have at least been smarter, added something new to a conversation that's been dead by now because it's been drug into the mud. But no, I've heard everything they said before. It wasn't like a smart idea. And I'm just not impressed. I don't know why they put that scene in there. And I don't know why there's so many jokes to contemporary culture and just ideas in this movie. Because not only that, is it doesn't blend with the vibe of the movie with this rustic and ornate house, this very like ancient look to it, and Harlan Thrombey and how like he's clearly not interested in a lot of modern stuff. He's likes more, and he writes whodunits and whatnot. I just don't know why that was present in this movie, and that humor really kills the movie. And there's a lot of jokes in the movie that are just like out of place, and then they give like a little silence to let the audience laugh, and I was not laughing. I hate when movies do that, and even like movies I like have done that before, where it's like, here's your 5 seconds. I'm like, that's 5 seconds in your film you wasted. Congratulations. And that happens way too much in this movie.
Yeah, back in the day,
I had a
used to laugh
surprisingly
over.
full theater, and people actually liked.
Oh yeah,
laughing
people were
in and
dying
out.
laughing in my theater, and I was like, "Yo, who likes this?" Like, and it's older people, and I think they think, "Oh, that's really smart." And I don't say that to bash older people. I mean that in the sense that it's the same people who laughed at Good Boys. It's very easy humor. It's not very smart humor, but it's the type of humor that a lot of people will like because it's easy to like.
Yeah. What did you think about Daniel Craig?
His southern accent, specifically.
Yeah.
I knew that's what you were
Yeah,
asking.
that's exactly that.
You know what? It wasn't. I had heard from a couple people it was kind of bad. However, I don't think it was like atrocious. I thought it was solid enough, but when he was pronouncing vowels, certain A sounds, they were like they were bad.
It wasn't.
Because he was doing like more of like kind of this genteel Southern gentleman type of accent.
But again, like
working.
why did he need to do the accent? There was nothing about his backstory that required him to have like a Southern.
That's
drawl.
what I was saying in like 21 Bridges.
Exactly,
you don't need to give everybody an accent. You can always be like, hey, guys from Britain, boom. Easy.
Sometimes you don't
Write
need
that
to
in your
push
script, you're
yourself
done.
that hard.
No, you don't.
I mean? Yeah.
Like he didn't need to do that.
But I mean, I like that aspect of the police officers and then the private investigator, and kind of how that's almost the basic storytelling of a whodunit. Like it's almost through the investigation type of thing. But I think it was just an interesting dynamic that I haven't seen before in one of them. Okay, where there's the fabled like Jacques Clouseau or whatever coming in and. He's the guy, and the police are just kind of piggybacking.
Here's the thing. I actually, like you said, I really like the editing of this movie, and I thought the pacing was really well done. And the constant showing things and taking them out, and then your brain has it, it compartmentalizes it, but you don't remember it until you see it again. Yeah. And you're like, oh, yeah, I like that style of editing. And I thought it was a really well done. And plus, I like the name cards showing people. I thought that was all really well done. And I thought it was not even a poorly directed movie. It was pretty well directed. I don't think I've ever really questioned Rian Johnson's directing skills because he directed great episodes of Breaking Bad. However, the script for this film, similar to The Last Jedi, really kills the movie for me. Not that I think this movie script is definitely better than The Last Jedi, but I think that a couple of the choices in this movie just aren't very original or as smart as Rian Johnson would maybe like them to be. I don't think the humor is nearly as smart as he'd probably think it is or as clever as he think it is, and I think the structure overall suffers because of the poor script.
Interesting.
And I thought Chris Evans was really good in this movie. Though.
Yeah.
It was so funny seeing Captain America being like a douche. Like,
Yeah.
But I liked that Chris Evans, now knows wherever he wants to send his career, he has to show that he has versatility.
Yeah.
And Captain America is obviously so different from Ransom. But I thought he did a really good job. He was my favorite actor in the movie. I thought his performance was charismatic, but you could hate him. But you could kind of see a little bit of sympathy and understand where he's coming from, but you can also see why everybody else in the movie hates him.
But see, I feel like he was the most cartoonish, or not really the most cartoonish. Maybe the grandma was, but I felt like the main girl, Martha.
Yeah.
I really liked her acting because I think
did
she
too,
showed
actually.
a wide variety of
thought
emotions.
she was really good.
And I think that she did that very well.
And it was through it was like the Alice in Wonderland through her journey basically. And she had to. I know we're not doing spoilers yet, but she had to convey a bunch of different emotions and a bunch of different revelations, basically. And I mean, if she wasn't good, the whole thing would have fallen apart a long time earlier.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and so she did a really good job.
Yeah, and I think the actors, a lot of the times, their comedic skills carried some of the weaker dialogue and lines that were based around comedy. They carried those on their back. So, they saved some of it for me because I think with bad actors, this movie could have been really bad. But the actors and some of the solid direction were good parts of the movie that I liked. And I thought actually Daniel Craig was pretty good, but they tried to do too many jokes with him.
Yeah, and it didn't really.
And there was this one about a donut, and I remember watching
within a
that.
donut, within a donut.
And I remember people were dying laughing. And
I was
sitting
like,
there,
what?
You guys
Yeah,
think this
I
is
didn't
funny?
get that joke really because it was like when Family Guy drags out a joke, and
Yeah.
they're making fun
But
of
it's not the
dragging
good-
out a
but
joke.
It's not
Yeah,
the good type.
exactly.
Of
It's
Family
like,
Guy joke.
what are you doing? I don't get
that
it.
either.
You
People
guys
were
have anything
laughing.
else to add on the
Non-spoiler
non-spoiler?
On the
front?
non-spoiler one, I just want to say that I don't know the guy's name, but he plays the same role in every one, and he plays the husband that was cheating. In this, I think he's almost a guaranteed funny guy in any whatever movie or project he's in. It's just
There was one thing too involved with his little plot line. We'll talk a little bit more later, and I thought it was actually a really interesting choice they made, but didn't do anything with it.
Okay.
That's I guess that sums up
So
a lot of the
then
movie.
we'll transfer into the spoiler one. What
Yeah.
are we talking
Have to,
about?
Oh
yeah.
wait. Well, first off, we have to, I think just give our reviews for people who don't want to see the spoiler part.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this movie. I guess this is like a spoiler alert for what I'll give it later, but I'm gonna give this movie a 7.4 out of 10.
I would give it an 8 just because a 7 is passing for me, and I actually wasn't it dragged on for the last 30 minutes for me, but I really liked this movie. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. No, it's gonna seem like I'm copying you because I was gonna give it an 8 too.
Okay.
That's why I gave that reaction. I was like, dang, that's two things that we've just. But yeah, because it's one of those things that I definitely, as I said, I had some problems with the script and stuff like that, but I still enjoyed it. I still liked the movie, but I don't think it's something I need to rush to the theater to see.
Yeah, well, okay, so the thing I was talking about, we're gonna
Spoilers.
move into the spoiler territory now.
Spoilers.
If you've seen the movie, you're in good
Turn the
company.
lights down low. We're gonna get serious.
Yeah, I think the choice with the letter and the lighter, we find out that
Oh,
that was
yeah,
actually real, was completely nothing happened with it. It was at the very end.
He got punched in the eye,
Yeah, but
but they didn't show it. Which
who cares, And I don't say that to be oh, who cares? It meant nothing. But I think one of the worst things about this movie, it feels kind of empty to me. Not every movie needs a message. Not every movie's an Aesop fable type thing. But I think every movie should have some sort of statement. And it does not need to be social, but it sometimes can just be oh, this is an interesting theme throughout this movie. This movie had none of that for me. It was just things happening. Different characters were different. And it was poor jokes for the sake of, being funny, but they weren't funny. And here's the thing. The Ransom Twist at this movie, I thought so. At first, I was like, oh, why would they keep him away for the first half of this movie just to bring him in? Just to be
But
a
at
killer?
one point, I
That'd be
thought
too
it was
easy.
it's too obvious for it to be
Exactly.
because it's obvious that it's him.
Exactly,
You know
and
what
I
mean?
had those doubts too. So I'm not going to say I settled 100% on an idea.
Yeah.
But technically, can't you just say you never settled on any idea in your brain with a mystery until you've actually seen it? Because your brain can trick you and be like, "Oh, you did settle on that," or "No, you
No,
didn't."
but there's been some times where it's I knew it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's who it is," and and just it had no statement to make after that. And the movie ends so abruptly. That might be the worst
I
thing
think
about
you're saying
this.
that they didn't have any like type of message or Aesop, like it doesn't have to, but it didn't have like a theme behind it.
Didn't have a theme.
I think maybe the
Connecting
theme was
idea.
kind of around the being a good person, and like the lady who Marta, she put herself, or she put others before herself as being a nurse and a home care provider, but also when she tried to save the lady from overdosing her coworker or whatever.
But that's more of a character theme.
But even but even at the end when Daniel Craig was like, you are a good person or you are a good nurse because you could tell the difference in viscosity of the liquids because she didn't juice him with the morphine, which sucks too because that means Buddy killed himself for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason.
And she had to see it, which is really even
I thought it would have been
part.
cool if, because when I saw a trailer for this movie, I thought they might do something, because he writes novels, and they say that in the trailer.
You
I
thought he
might
faked
be
to
like,
death.
like kind of like The Game, this movie Taj loves. But I thought they were going to do something along that lines, like maybe but I think he just enjoyed the drama because he knew stuff would happen because he knew he told Ransom, and he probably knew more than they even said in the movie, but you know, he just kind of killed himself. I did think he was really good. Harlan Thrombey was one of my favorite parts of this movie.
Definitely.
He was really good. And Christopher Plummer just played it. He was comedic. He was funny, but he was also, you could tell he was smart and had a wariness about him.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked him.
Well, when they spent time on the characters like the Marta, and you actually grew to like them, and they were fleshed out, and so it gave the actors a chance to be something. So, see, where you guys said, like, once I knew it was Ransom, nothing in the movie convinced me it wasn't him. Even when they literally said Marta had done it. And
Wait, which part?
I'm just saying, as soon as he, like, when you said, like, he was gone for the first 30 minutes of the movie, I was like, okay, it's probably him, you know, who's gone. And then he shows up, and once he showed up, I was like, oh, it's definitely him.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's being, you know, and then even when they revealed, oh, no, she screwed up, and it, you know, it was her, and it was an accident, I'm like, okay, I don't think so, because that kind of movie wouldn't fly, first of all, and I knew it was gonna have to be too smart for itself. So I'm like, so nothing. It didn't veer me. It was more like, oh, something happened, and she thinks it's her.
Yeah, it's basically like, oh, you thought Snoke was useful, but he's dead.
Yeah. So I was like, so I knew like it was always Chris Evans or his character Ransom.
Yeah, well,
and that was the problem that I had in it. Like,
here's the other thing is like what you were saying about, oh, but that's too obvious because he wasn't in here. Yeah,
And he's
that's
the only
true.
angry
I know,
guy
I
in,
know.
like, the whole
It's
cast,
true.
you know?
It's
It's like-
too obvious to think of, and I know Ryan Johnson thought you would think that, and I did think that, so he was right to think that I would think that. But here's the thing:
Thinkception.
there's no other nuance in the story, and other mysteries. There would be two other people who were somewhat suspicious, and the movie does show gripes they all have with Harlan to be like hey,
Motives,
It could be any of them, motives. But
They don't spend enough time.
It doesn't do anything to delve into any of them. It just, and even if you didn't think it was Ransom, it's not like it blew your mind. You were like, makes sense to me. You know, when a movie like really does its job, or a mystery, you're like, wow, I didn't even think. Because even if it's somebody you possibly suspected, because if you're watching a mystery movie, you convince yourself internally in your head, oh, it could be anybody, so I don't feel dumb and like my intelligence isn't insulted as a moviegoer. You convince yourself it could be anybody. And this movie, it's just so easy to do that. And the fact that it was Chris Evans never once impressed me, because in a good mystery, it would make sense out of everybody, and at least make sense out of the person who you potentially predicted, but it would make sense out of why they did it. And I think it makes sense out of that, but it adds nothing to it.
yeah, once he showed up with the car and then he drove her to the restaurant or the diner, that's when I was 100% sure it was him. When he's trying to help.
Yeah, because he did he was
like,
definitely trying
he
to help.
was interested in, and I was like, okay, it's him.
I think the movie should have been shorter, personally, just because like once you find out who did it, I don't really care. Like the whole movie for me was about the mystery. Once I find out who did it, I don't really like the bad guy's supposed to go to jail, and then somebody else died. Like the only one thing that I really did like and I thought was interesting and I have questions about is the knife scene where she gets stabbed, because you're like, oh man, she got stabbed, but you know what I mean? It's one of those things. But then is the entire knife chair, like, is it by luck that he just grabbed the one spring knife?
Luck,
you know what I mean?
I think it's.
And did that have anything to do with it? I like knives.
I think if that's a repeat viewing thing, because I think they did mention something about a stage knife, but I don't remember.
Really?
One thing I think is really good from a director's perspective that Rian Johnson does really well is he uses the camera to put your eye on certain things, and even if it's an object that seems relatively, insignificant, but in your brain you're like, oh, I want to solve this before the movie does. Let me think of everything that this could mean. And I did that a couple times. I was like, oh, what does that mean? And a lot of times it meant nothing.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed that. When you're dealing with a movie that has so many objects in it, I think that's something that's a smart choice to make all of it seem relevant, even if only like half or like 1/4 of it is.
What did you guys think of like I thought it was somewhat clever that she couldn't tell a lie and that she'd throw up. But I just like I was gonna say at the very end, I knew that she was holding it in.
Yeah, I knew she was.
It's like that, like that. I should know that. I should be like, because there was people next to me that were like, like that. I'm like, really?
Yeah. No, it's not because people are okay. I heard a couple people like almost about like nobody cheered, but I think people were gonna cheer when she threw up on him. It was like, yeah, you take that ransom.
Yeah.
Bad guy gets thrown up.
People
on him.
clapped at the end.
But in my head, I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
they
isn't that something you would put in a kids movie? Like I swear that's in like Spy Kids, where the bad guy gets like thrown up. It's like take that evil guy.
Yeah.
I was like, but this is a movie for adults. Like what is this? And I just thought him getting thrown up and that whole ending sequence was like, okay. And then the movie ends. That is, in my opinion, the second worst thing about this film is the ending. Because it is similar to The Last Jedi. It happens and there's no statement made and there's no relevance to any sort of future implications. And it's just like, yeah, here's some ending. Hope you like it. Yeah. But it's really poorly executed in my opinion.
I think the only reason you would want to watch this again is to see if you could pick up on clues the first time around. It has nothing to do with like, oh, this is a great movie. Let me see it again.
Like they tell you in the beginning, they had a fight, and he stormed off.
I think
many times.
One thing that was obvious that I didn't think of, and I was like, oh, that's actually interesting. Was that she says you're back again, Ransom?
Yeah.
I thought that was smart because I didn't think of that, and I was like, good job, Rian Johnson. Because the word again, because she probably just thinks, oh, you're just back, but that was smart because she can't tell and stuff. Yeah. So I like that, but
how about the Hugh did it, or whatever?
Hugh did it.
Yeah.
That wasn't as clever.
No, that wasn't. No,
at the end of the day, the way she was looking at, it was like, And also, wouldn't she think to be like, because if she worked for him and he, all the workers hated him because of him making them call him Hugh and being mean, wouldn't they call him Ransom when he's not around? Is she gonna call him Hugh as her last dying breath?
That's just more of trying to be clever.
Yeah, that's more of like Hugh. That sounds the same. You thought that was smart, didn't you? And I was like, no, I didn't think that was smart. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I just didn't see too much in terms of the movie really tricking me. And I think the best mysteries are films even on rewatch. And I'm like, wow, it could have been you. And I really still think of that. And even the movie Prisoners, like I still think on repeat viewings, like wow, I don't even expect you.
But Prisoners is not like light watching.
Okay, what's a light watching mystery movie? Then?
This movie is light.
No, give another example.
Clue is like that.
Clue.
I've never seen that.
Or the last one.
Clue is a classic.
What was the last one that we just came out? We just talked about? I always keep forgetting the name.
You're talking about.
It's not the Clue one. It's the dinner party one.
That's not a mystery though.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, I guess
it's not.
No. Have you seen Clue? Have you seen Clue?
Like the '90s one?
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Okay. Yeah, that's very cartoony like this. It's very much like I wouldn't be surprised.
One of the Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like that's not the same.
But see what I'm saying? Like it's light watching. You know what I mean? And it's kind of cool. It could be for kind of adults.
Trying to be like better than it is, and the movie thinks it's smarter and
more sophisticated,
less light than it is.
It probably
sophisticated is a great word because the movie, and also like even just the look of the movie is very like. Oh, we got something interesting going on here. You got this very nice and ornate design inside the house, and this mystery, and there's all this stuff going on outside. But at the end,
I think the music added to that too because it had like those strings and it had the ding and all that. So it really sounded more sophisticated than like Clue. And I'm not going to spoil anything about Clue, but Clue is very cartoon. Like the music's very cartoony too. Like that's so you are in the mood. Oh, this is a comedy.
Like all right, Daniel Craig. In the opening scenes when they're all saying something, he would press piano keys at a certain time. Yeah. And I remember when I was watching the movie, I was like, ooh, I wonder if you put all the statements they make together, it makes something smart. And then I was like, wait, no, this movie's not smart enough to do that. And like
that's why I said repeat viewing.
And I thought there was plenty of stuff, and there might be stuff on the repeat viewings, but when the movie on the first time wasn't like smart enough or clever enough for me to be like, ooh, wow, I need to figure out why they said that. Like how when people saw Get Out, there was all these YouTube videos, and everybody was like, ooh, I'm gonna rewatch it. This movie doesn't have that for me, and it really wants to have it.
But I like how all the people in the family were like, who the F are you?
Yeah.
That was funny. It was good editing.
Yeah, no, it was.
This is a light watch. I'm not mad about it because I
That's what I
wasn't
thought.
expecting this to be a very sophisticated movie. But you know, like after you leave the theater watching Prisoners, it kind of has to sit with you further. You can't just leave the theater.
Okay.
You know,
That was just,
this one you can just. All right, that was fun, guys.
That was a movie I was using specifically, maybe too much.
That was a very serious movie.
I was just
there.
using an example of a movie I liked, but that is definitely more serious than this, and I think like more intelligent too.
Definitely.
But there are mysteries that are more, I guess, less serious. Like the game is not that serious, I don't think. At least in terms of like
very serious
subject matter.
Yeah.
You think so?
You need to watch it again.
It has a clowns in it and stuff. I don't know. But even that, like, it's definitely smarter than this movie.
Watch
7?
Yeah.
It's way smarter than this movie.
7's definitely. Watch.
But again, like those are not like those. You gotta sit and think.
But
of
why is this
7?
this movie is disguising itself as that movie while having a layer under it of this very comedic and kind of quippy tone with subversive humor, and it's got all these political references, so the kids like it, but none of it.
But see, I think like the Prisoners in those movies, that's more like traveling to China and experiencing the culture, whereas this movie is more like just going to Chinatown, and like you kind of get almost the same thing, but it's like a much more half kind of whatever version of it. It's it's less, but suffices.
Yeah,
that's a good example. Yeah, that's a great.
So I'm not upset about it.
I think we're gonna have to end it right there.
Yeah,
it was an excellent. Yeah, if you're looking for a movie that's really gonna tug your brain strings and gonna have you not only enjoying yourself but really thinking about it after, I wouldn't recommend seeing this movie.
No.
And I don't mean that for everybody, because I'm sure some people will enjoy the mystery and certain aspects, but for me, it just didn't work.
Yeah. I would unfortunately have to say the same. I think if you want a lighthearted mystery movie that's funny, then Clue for me is still at the top of the bar.
Yeah, and like the good direction, editing, pacing, and also really good production design, along with some good performances, are what sell the movie for me.
Yep.
But the script and the ending of the movie like almost overpower all of that, because it's just so and I gave it a 7 point, I forgot what I just said, 3, 4, and I did that because those things are good. But when I leave the theater and I give it a 7.4 and my feelings towards something are still negative, it's sort of like how I felt with It too.
Yeah,
it wasn't like an awful film. There's plenty of stuff that was good in it, but I left feeling negative because there was certain things that were just more powerful than everything that was good, and it really overpowered all that.
got it.
See, for me, it's where I wasn't upset I went to the theater, because I went to go see this by myself, and the theater was pretty crowded, but I wasn't very upset that I went to go see this.
I think I was upset at how many people liked this movie. Really liked it.
It is. I think it's an acquired taste, like, to be honest, because I think for us, we didn't like it, but I know a lot of people that did. I don't understand it.
I'm not gonna. I like this movie. I'm not gonna say.
No, I meant in terms of liked it.
Oh yeah, if you saw this movie, let us know if it surprised you, or if there was any thing you noticed that you thought was really cool. Because I'm sure there's a couple things. And just let us know.
Drop some clues. Let us know what you saw.
Yeah, and like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.